Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to our worship service at Central Unitarian Church. My name is Susan Gempler. I'm your worship associate for this morning. I'm a member of the choir, and I've been going here about 10 years. And I welcome you all. I hope you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving. CUC is an inclusive community of all ages, which embraces diversity in identity, in expression, and spiritual belief. We gather together each Sunday in worship to find inspiration, hope, and renewal among this community of like-hearted individuals. If you are visiting us in person, please be sure to say hello to one of our welcome hosts, Kathy and Randy and Joan, if you could raise your hands. Okay, thank you. If you're visiting us online, please be sure to click the link provided in the chat and sign our guest book by providing us with your name and contact information. We invite you to stay after service for coffee, and we do have coffee this morning, conversation and connection in the same space. As we prepare to begin our service this morning, we ask those in person to please silence your electronic devices, with the exception of your hearing aids, of course. And I say that because I just got them and I don't know what I'm doing. I don't even know what I sound like. This is so odd. And we have a special guest this morning, a guest speaker. As Executive Director of UU Faith Action, New Jersey, Charles Loflin serves as the principal link with UU congregations, volunteers, coalition partners, and legislators as Policy Director. He's the Chief Administrator and Advisor to the Board. Charles joined UU Faith Action, New Jersey staff in 2020, and he stepped into the role of Executive Director in 2021. Charles is an affiliated community minister with the Unitarian Universalist congregation at Montclair. Now, we have quite a few announcements this morning, and I will start with the Blue Holiday service. You can join the pastoral care team and Reverend Andre on Tuesday, that's this coming Tuesday, December 3rd at 7 p.m. here in the clubhouse, or it's also going to be online. This is a holiday gathering to remember CUC members, personal friends, or family whom we have lost. Bring a photo or a memento of a loved one that you can share during the service. All are welcome to attend. Our pastoral care team will host a light reception following the service. Now, the Women's Alliance Holiday Luncheon is December 4th on Wednesday. This is a big week at noon, from noon to 2 p.m. here also in the clubhouse. And we plan delicious food and wonderful companionship. And please contact Evelyn Stockfish if you plan to attend. And just a reminder that today is the last day to sign up for the Longevity Luncheon at USR. If you have any questions, see Elizabeth Stewart. You can sign up with her, or you can also sign up online, but you have to do it by today so they know how much food to have. The outreach auction is coming up. It's going to be starting next weekend, and it's online again. It starts Saturday, December 7th. Jeff, what time does that start? I don't see it. 7 p.m.? Okay. This is our annual opportunity to financially support local community organizations who provide many, many valuable services to residents of Bergen County. For questions on this year's auctions or to donate any items, please contact Jeff Merrigan. Now, Holiday Craft Fair is coming up. Mark your calendars for the annual CUC Craft Fair to be held on Sunday, December 8th, next Sunday, following service here at the clubhouse. Please invite family members and friends to join in a festive afternoon of craft making and fun. Also, poinsettia orders. It's time to order your poinsettias for Christmas Eve. And this is what we use to decorate our space for the service. And you take them home after the service. 2 sizes are available, and your poinsettias can be purchased in honor of a loved one. See details in this week's e-newsletter, and the deadline to order these is December 10. Now, hopefully, I have them all. Anybody else had anything? Okay. All right. And now, let us formally begin our gathering. Please turn to a person near you and offer them a warm welcome. Ring the bell.
Good morning, everyone. I have these centering words to share with you this morning. These are from the Reverend Peggy Clark, who is a UU minister at Community Church in New York City. Come in and bring everything you have. Drag in your fear, your doubt, your anger. Carry with you your heartbreak, your desperation, your feelings of being small or alone or abandoned. Leave nothing by the door for you to pick up on your way out. Bring it all in, here, to your people. Even if you don't know a soul in the room, because we are for each other. We are what we have. We are what we need. Let's make room for each in our fullness, and let's make room for faith, for hope, for love, which are also today looking for a home. Even in this hard, cold space, we can create softness, we can create welcome, we can create warmth, where all of who we are can rest. Welcome and blessed be.
Now let's sing together hymn 1020. It's in the Teal book, and it's probably up here also. And there are some repeats to keep note of towards the end of these songs. So whenever you're ready. We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know within, and we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. It will be hard, we know, and the road will be muddy and rough, but we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah. We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know within, and we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, 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 oh yeah, 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 oh yeah, 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 oh yeah, yeah. It's time to light our chalice. Would you all say with me our chalice lighting words? We light this chalice to remind us of our dreams, to nourish our heart, mind, and spirit, to worship towards a better world for all, to embrace the whole of our human experience, to honor our past and our gifts of the present, to create a community where each of us may find healing, transformation, and hope.
Good morning. So I have a wisdom story to share with you, and having just completed a Thanksgiving meal, I think you might recognize these things, right? Probably something we all made use of this last week. These are, however, a little different than the typical spoons you might see. What would you say is different about these spoons? They're rather large, right? So why would I choose spoons like this? Well, there's a wisdom story that comes from a traditional folk tale that's told in some Japanese and Chinese cultures. And it goes something like this. Someone was trying to explain the difference between heaven and hell. And so they were like, can you explain it? Can you tell us what it's like? And so the person answering said, well, I can tell you what hell is like. Imagine that you are in a space where there's a large table. And on the table is a bountiful gathering. All the foods you can imagine. Everything is there, but it's out of reach. It's far away, where you have to stand, you're like 10, 12 feet away from the table, and you can't get any closer. But you do have spoons that will allow you to reach the food. That's why I have long, big spoons here, right? But the spoons require you to stay 12 feet away. They're long enough to get into the food, but the problem is, even once you can dip into the food, there's no way to then serve yourself the food. That is what hell is like. It is a bounty, everything that you can imagine, all that you need, a tool to be able to get to what you need, but then the inability to actually receive what you need. So the person says, oh, okay, I think I get it. That's what hell is like. Well, what then is heaven like? And he said, heaven is, well, it's like this. There is a table, and it's bountiful, full of everything you can possibly imagine. But you are prevented from getting right up to the table. You are still across a chasm some 10 or 12 feet away, and you have long spoons, but everyone around the table is happy and healthy and enjoying themselves. But how is this possible? It's the same problem, is it not? They still can reach the food with the spoons, but there's no way for them to serve themselves. True. They cannot serve themselves, but they do find they can serve one another. So reaching across, they can dip the long spoons into the food and then reach across the chasm to offer it to someone on the other side. You see, the difference between heaven and hell, as the worship goes, is not in what we have. We always have enough. We have what we need. The difference is, in heaven, we are about serving one another. Whereas in hell, when we service only ourselves, we find ourselves lacking. There is wisdom in this story for all of us. May we find that we have all we need when we have the courage to serve one another. Blessed be.
It's time for our offertory. We are not alone. Our lives are built on shared commitment, giving and receiving together. Our congregation serves as a place where we intentionally practice this shared living, interdependence in a culture that overemphasizes independence. One of the ways we practice our interdependence is through our congregation's finances, which depend on the generous contributions of members and friends. We pause each week to recognize this particular form of sharing, each of us giving what we can to support the mission and vision of Central Unitarian Church. Your financial contribution helps each and every one of us to grow and to serve, and most importantly, to live the lives centered on love. Our offering will now be gratefully received. Please join me in saying our dedication words based on CUC's mission statement. We dedicate these gifts in service of our mission to welcome all into a home of spiritual diversity that challenges us to become our best selves, to minister to one another in love, and to serve the greater community. Now we enter into a time of meditation, taking a moment to share our joys and our sorrows. We do this each week as a way of caring for each other. We invite you to share the joys and sorrows you hold in your heart today. If you are online, you may do so in the chat for this service below. Those of you here in person may have already lit a candle or submitted a joy or a sorrow, which I will read. We will also offer a moment for those here to share out loud the names of those you are holding in your heart today. So let us quiet ourselves in order to enter that holy space of listening, breathing in a breath of life and breathing out a breath of peace. Any names to share out loud? May we hold all these joys and all these sorrows, both spoken and unspoken, in our hearts while we enter into a moment of silence. Blessed be. Excuse me. Now we'll sing together hymn 1009, and you can sing this seating if you would like. We're going to do it 2 times through. So that really means, I believe, repeating the phrase 4 times. Is that right? When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe in love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe out peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. Today's reading is an intro to Reverend Charles' reflection. It is an excerpt from a book called New Strategies for Wicked Problems. And this has been edited by Edward P. Weber and Denise Latch and Brent S. Steele. Wicked problems are defined by 3 primary characteristics. They are unstructured, cross-cutting, and relentless. First, unstructured means that causes and effects are extremely difficult to identify and model, thus adding complexity and uncertainty and engendering a high degree of conflict because there is little consensus on the problem or the solution. Second, wicked problems are cross-cutting in that the problem space comprises multiple overlapping interconnected subsets of problems that cut across multiple policy domains and levels of government. Wicked problems, in other words, cut across hierarchy and authority structures within and between organizations and across policy domains, political and administrative jurisdictions, and political group interests. And third, wicked problems are relentless. The problem is not going to be solved once and for all, despite all the best intentions and resources directed at the problem. And efforts to solve this wicked problem will have consequences for other policy arenas as well. Similar to a stone dropped in the water, the ripples spread rapidly to impact other issue areas, thus adding new complications to an already complex situation. Wicked problems present the need for 3 particular challenges: more effectiveness, more accountability, more democracy. Taken together, the challenges suggest the need for new problem-solving methodologies and processes, new institutions and decisions tools that can integrate science and other knowledges, and values possessed by the diverse stakeholding groups typically involved in wicked problem settings. What might these new problem-solving methodologies, processes, and institutions look like?
So Susan, I think you should win some sort of medal for being able to get through that long, dense reading as well as you did, which was phenomenal, by the way. Thank you so much. Good morning again. It is an absolute joy to be with you this morning, and I want to begin just by extending my gratitude to Reverend Andre for the invitation to be here. My name is Reverend Charles Loflin, and I do have the distinct honor of serving as Executive Director for Unitarian Universalist Faith Action, New Jersey. Chances are many of you, if not most of you in this room, are familiar with the work of UU Faith Action New Jersey. You may have known it better by the former name, which was the UU Legislative Ministries of New Jersey. It was a group founded by the UU congregations in the state to be able to work collectively to address social justice issues, particularly issues that are related to the state at the legislative issue. So UU Element J, now UU Faith Action New Jersey, works to enact social change policies at the state level. And it is a collaboration amongst our congregations in the state. One of the greatest privileges of the job is the opportunity to do exactly what I'm doing today, which is to be with one of our affiliated congregations, to be able to get to know you a little bit, to share with you about the work that UU Faith Action is doing, and to hear about where you are as a congregation on your own social justice journey and where you are in terms of finding ways to connect with other UUs. Because it is collectively that we are able to do work that none of our congregations can do individually, but together we can come together. I also think it's really important, in my perspective, to do this in the context of our worship services, our gatherings on Sunday mornings. This is, in essence, for many of us, a great reflection of who we are. It's a time where we talk about what we believe, what we aspire to, what we want to do, what we envision the world to be like. And it is extremely important that you, as a congregation, understand how you are part of the work of what is happening at the state level through UU Faith Action and through cooperation with other Unitarian Universalists. It is so critical in the environment that we are in that we take advantage of every opportunity to pool our resources to be effective. The times we are in are challenging. They are likely to grow more challenging. But it is by working together that we ultimately are able to have an impact on the world that is around us. This is about building deep relationships over time and doing work that is long-haul work. I always like to begin services like this by reminding folks of UU Faith Action's vision and mission statement, because this is the heart of why we exist, why we continue to exist. First, this is our vision statement. We envision a just New Jersey, free from systemic oppression and greed, full of engaged people committed to each other, to our communities, and to the earth. A lofty goal indeed. And to accomplish that lofty vision, our mission statement says how we plan to do this work. Our mission statement says that grounded in our Unitarian Universalist faith, really important there, grounded in our Unitarian Universalist faith, we are confronting systemic injustice, and we are building a more compassionate society in New Jersey by educating ourselves and others on social and political issues, mobilizing individuals and congregations to act for justice, and advocating for equitable and sustainable public policy. That's our threefold mission: to educate, to mobilize, and to advocate. And it is thanks to the ongoing participation and the financial support of our member congregations and of individual donors that UU Faith Action can provide the advocacy and legislative leadership that we think makes a real difference on issues of equity and justice. We think that it helps us to build wider alliances between frontline communities and advocacy groups, to make deep relationships with our legislators, and to be involved with the key coalition partners across the state doing the work for justice. And I really want you to hear this. If you hear nothing else that I hear today, just hear this sentence, because I think it's really, really important. I am here first and foremost today to say thank you. Thank you, Central Unitarian Church. Thank you for your years of support of this organization as the UU Legislative Ministries of New Jersey and as UU Faith Action. We are grateful for everything that you have done, for you giving of your time and your talent and your treasure. You, Central Unitarian Church, have provided amazing service for this statewide organization. We have had board members from this congregation. We've had congregational liaisons from this congregation. Many of you have volunteered in one of our task force areas to do the work, and many of you have given generously of your time for our advocacy efforts. I especially want to take a moment this morning to recognize Sally Gellert, for her long, committed, sustained work to this organization. Absolutely. Sally's always there, always present, always pushing the needle. Sally, thank you so much for all that you have done, for all that you will continue to do. And again, let me also add to that my deep gratitude for Reverend Andre. I am such a lucky minister in New Jersey to be able to call Reverend Andre a colleague. She is amazing. She has a heart for social justice, and her commitment is unwavering. She has been a big part of the thought process, not only into thinking about what we have been as UU Faith Action, but in considering what we could be, how we rise to the present moment to better serve the needs. You are a fortunate congregation to have the leadership of Reverend Andre. I hope you know that. I hope you know that. Now, if you're familiar with the work of UU Faith Action, then you know that we organize around specific task forces. Our volunteer task forces are the ways in which we identify the legislative priorities that our UUs in our congregations want to work on. And over the years, those task forces change based on who is interested, who is available, what the present needs are. Our current configuration, we have 4 task forces that are active. They're working in the areas of criminal justice reform, environmental justice, immigration justice, and reproductive justice. Those are 4 critically important issues in New Jersey. Are they all the issues that face us in New Jersey? No, absolutely not. Not by any means. But they are areas in which we are trying to bring Unitarian Universalist values into play and to work for true, meaningful social justice change. We also acknowledge as a board something that's incredibly important for us. We believe that all of the social justice issues in those areas and in the other areas in which we don't have task forces, but we still try to take action, we believe that all of our social justice work must be grounded in an anti-racist, anti-oppression commitment. Everything we do is about dismantling racism and dismantling oppression in all of its forms. That is the lens we try to bring to all of this work. And recognizing that there are issue areas that go beyond our task forces, we just recognize that from the inception of the organization, there is an importance in limiting our focus to where there is energy and effort to be able to do the work that we need to do. That's not to say that other issue areas aren't important, and we are constantly exploring those issue areas. I want to particularly point out that right now, part of the work we're doing is trying to identify if there is a need and a focus amongst our UU congregations for a statewide task force focused on the issues of LGBTQ issues and moving things in the state. And in particular, LGBTQ issues is a broad umbrella, but in the context that we are in now, we need to make sure that we are doing all that we can, especially for our trans siblings. They are under attack, not only across the nation, but even in the state of New Jersey. And as the recent election has shown us, that situation is only going to get worse. So we're trying to figure out what our best approach is, what our congregations want to do in terms of what legislative action we can take in the state of New Jersey that's actually helpful in that regard. And as I said, ultimately the decision as to which task forces we have and what work we do, that decision is made by you. It's made by the congregations and the volunteers who show up and are part of the conversation with our allies and coalition partners to look at the framework that's out there and to say, this is what's important to me, this is what I want to work on, this is what we will do. We always have had the flexibility to reconsider and to reprioritize. We don't have resources to be able to do everything, but wherever the effort is amongst the UU congregations in the state, we will do everything we can in order to support that work. So I do hope that you as a congregation will investigate where you are, not only historically on the issues of social justice, but where you want to be now, in this moment, in terms of the work of social justice, and to decide that you want to do that work not just alone, not just as a solo congregation, but with other UUs in the state, bringing your voices together so that you have more power to be able to actually make systemic and emerging change. Also, and this will be the end of the commercial, I promise, but the most important thing you can do to make sure that you're part of the conversation with UU Faith Action, if you haven't already, is to sign up for our mailing list. You can do that by going to our website, which is www.uufaithaction.org. And at the very top of the page, the very top, the very first thing you'll see is a link to sign up to receive our email alerts and, if you choose, to opt in for text alerts. This is super important because a lot of UUs don't realize this about how we work. We never send out any unsolicited communications. You will never receive anything from us unless you have gone to that site and you have chosen to opt in to our communications. So if you want to be in the know, to receive our newsletter, to receive our action alerts when there's specific action to be taken, to find out about opportunities to mobilize, whether that is for a march or to come together around legislative action in New Jersey, signing up for those alerts is really the most important thing that you can do today. It is that opt-in approach that is super important. And we are very, very particular about protecting privacy. We never share our email lists with anyone, not even our coalition partners. So I can promise you, you're not going to get spammed with unnecessary communications if you sign up for that list. But it is the best way to know what is going on. And I also want to say to you, I am eager, and I mean this, I am genuinely eager to find out what is important to you individually and to you as a congregation in terms of where you see the need for social justice work in the state of New Jersey. My door is open to you. I would love to have a conversation with you about any questions you have, any concerns you have, about anything you're thinking about in terms of how to get involved, how to be a part of making the change that you want to see. You can find my contact information on our website, but also, during coffee hour today, stop me. I would be more than happy to do whatever you want to in terms of having a follow-up conversation, whether we want to schedule coffee together or an email exchange or a phone call. I really, really, really need to hear what it is that you as a Unitarian Universalist want to do in the social justice realm so that we can figure that out together. I also want to share with you, if some of you, or many of you who are already on our mailing list, of course, know this, but there's a program we began about a year ago that's actually been really, really fabulous for us. We call it First Fridays. It is our action hour time. And unlike a traditional task force, right, which meets regularly and is doing some deep dive into policy and figuring out legislative actions, working with coalitions, our action hours, which occur at the first Friday of every month at noon via Zoom, they don't require any pre-planned involvement. You don't have to come to a monthly meeting. You don't have to be there every month. But it's an opportunity to come together with other UUs from across the state and some of our coalition partners to be able to take action right then and there. We take about 5 or 10 minutes. We explain an issue that needs action to be taken then. It might be calling the governor. It might be emailing your particular representatives in the state legislature. It might be making you aware of something that's coming up. It could be any number of things, but you simply show up at the Zoom meeting. We tell you everything we need to do. We spin some music with Emily, our communications manager, who's our DJ, and we take that action right there together, right? So that folks during that time will make phone calls, send letters, do all of that work. And interestingly, because I realize a lot of people are like, oh, 12 noon on a Friday, that doesn't work for me. We publish the Google document that has all the information for the action that you can take, and you can access that document at any time. In other words, you don't even have to be at the meeting to be able to take those actions. Everything you need to know to be able to do that work is available right there in the document. So again, sign up for our email alerts. You'll find out information about Action Hour, because one of the things we're hoping is that congregations will distribute that document internally as well, so that even folks who can't be there at that particular time can still take that action. And that's something that has been like I said, a program that we've been doing for about a year now. We've seen some really great success with that. I also just want to say, in talking with Reverend Andre, she shared some about the work that you as a congregation have been doing. There's some things that I'm really, really excited about. One of them is my understanding is you've been working in collaboration with Ridgewood a bit on some of the social justice activities. That is amazing. That is so important. For too long in this state, we have worked in silos, where our congregations have worked completely independently of each other. And here's the fact, folks. In terms of our total numbers, we are a relatively small movement. Right? There are only about 3,300 self-identified Unitarian Universalists in the state of New Jersey. But when we work together, we have a reach that's far beyond our numbers. And this starts with congregations being able to work together. So I applaud that work, and I want to do everything as UU Faith Action to encourage and to facilitate the connections between our congregations in terms of how that works. And also, as you consider, you have a future that you've been working towards for several years now as you prepare for your new building and the groundbreaking that happens there, as you think about what it means for you to be a congregation that believes in social justice. This can be an exciting opportunity, not just to try to recapture something perhaps that you did before, but to really think about who you are now, who you want to be, and what the opportunities are in the present moment. To the extent that UU Faith Action can be helpful in any way as you do that discernment, I just want you to know that we are here and we are eager. We want to make this work because, again, it goes back to that vision that we have for a New Jersey that's truly doing the work of bringing true reform and justice to those who are most impacted. I could go on and on. I could spend all morning talking to you specifically about the legislative priorities that we have going on right now, because there's specific action that needs to be taken now. Just as one quick example, there's news on the immigration front. There is legislation in New Jersey, the Immigrant Trust Act. And given what has happened in the last election, we think it is more important than ever that we try to get this legislation passed before the new administration comes into power again in January. So you're going to be hearing about that, I hope, in the month of December especially, as we're making a concerted push with our coalitions to be able to do that work. And I could do this across all of our task forces. I could say, these are the things that we need to do, and the urgency has risen in recent days. And I want to have those conversations. I do. So please, reach out. Let's make those happen. But I'm here today not only to talk about UU Faith Action, but to share some thoughts and reflections I have on what I think are the larger picture of where we are in the social justice work that we need to be doing, and to hopefully leave you with something that that makes you think about who you are and where you want to be. Even if you don't participate with UU Faith Action New Jersey, I believe as Unitarian Universalists, we have a particular calling at this particular moment in time. This may not have been the outcome we were looking for, but we could be prepared for this moment if we live into our values. And that's what I want to talk to you a little bit about this morning in the time that I have left. I've titled my reflection, "We Can Do Hard Things." Can you say that with me? We can do hard things. How about you say it with a little conviction? We can do hard things. One more time, like you really mean it. Like you really, really mean this. We can do hard things. Yeah, I picked that title because there's a podcast that I listen to regularly called We Can Do Hard Things. It's pretty amazing. It's the creation of Glennon Doyle. Glennon first gained some national attention for her online blog. She wrote from the perspective of a progressive Christian mother who was raising 3 children. She got a lot of attention for her work. It led to a best-selling book, and that book sort of united the themes of faith for her with this deep honesty and authenticity about the struggles and the problems of life itself. And then life threw her a couple of curveballs. She found out that her husband had been unfaithful to her. She was trying to figure out if there was a way for her to salvage her marriage, so she ended up publishing a second book. And then, as life would throw yet further curveballs, as that marriage dissolved, she fell madly in love with the soccer phenom Abby Wambach, who you may know. They are now married. And Glennon and Abby, along with Glennon's sister, created this podcast called We Can Do Hard Things. I give all that background to illustrate that Glennon Doyle knows something about the ups and downs of life, about being able to react to the events, the unexpected events that come our way. And she knows something about applying that from a faith perspective. I find the podcast to be very, very moving. This is how they describe the podcast. They say, we are all doing hard things every single day. Things like loving and losing, caring for children and parents, forging and ending friendships, battling addiction, illness, and loneliness, struggle in our jobs, our marriages, our divorces, setting boundaries, fighting for equality, purpose, freedom, joy, and peace. I'm a fan of the podcast. I recommend that you check it out. They may not be Unitarian Universalists, but the values that they are espousing are very much aligned with the work that we're doing. But why do I keep going back to this podcast? Well, part of it's the chemistry that they create together. There's something contagious. There's something magical about what they do. And they are talking about the hardest of the hard things, the real life things where we find ourselves. The questions of what it means, how do we deal with all these issues that confront us? Issues including sex and gender and parenting and blended families and bodies and justice and boundaries. And all of it's happening all of the time. But particularly what I am moved by is the authenticity that they bring to this work, the vulnerability that they bring to this work, and the sincere honesty that they bring to this work. Because somehow when I listen to the podcast, I'm left thinking not only do they do hard things, but maybe, just maybe, that means I could do some hard things too. Maybe. We can do hard things. We can. I really want to believe that. I really need to believe that. Not only professionally in the work that I'm doing with UU Faith Action New Jersey, I need to believe that it's possible to move the needle for social justice. I need to believe that the moral arc of the universe can be bent towards justice. And I will be clear with you, I do not think that arc bends of itself. We have sometimes fallen into the fallacy of believing that social justice is an inevitability, that we will get there if we're just patient and wait long enough. We believe in what our Unitarian forebear told us, that the moral arc of the universe is long and it bends towards justice. Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. was quoting a Unitarian minister when he mentions that. But if you go back to the original quote of Theodore Parker, what he said is, as far as I can see, the moral arc of the universe bends towards justice, but only as far as he could see. So the implication was, it can bend toward justice, not a guarantee that it will bend towards justice. We can do hard things, but they're not going to happen automatically. They're not going to happen without our effort. And can I be completely honest with you this morning? There's some days, some recent days, where it hasn't felt so easy to believe that I had the strength to continue to work for bending that arc. There are days that involve some really, really hard truths. If you're like me, you're probably experiencing multiple aspects of this in your own life as well right now. There are challenges that are confronting each and every one of us. They confront us at every level, on the personal level, on the professional level, on the community level, even in the congregational level. Everything, everywhere, all at once. The issues may differ in degrees of complexity. They may differ in terms of the urgency of the moment. They may differ in priority, but the cumulative effect can be overwhelming, can it not? Just getting out of bed can be a challenge. We can do hard things. As we heard in the reading today, there is a term that is used to describe particularly hard things. It was coined in the 1970s, and it's a term the term is wicked problem. Must have been someone from Boston who came up with that term, I don't know. But a wicked problem. Not just a difficult problem, not just a complex problem, not just a problem that requires all of our energy and effort, but a problem that is inherently wicked because of its complexity, because of its interconnected nature. Classic examples of wicked problems are, what do we do about climate change? What do we do about educational policy that is creating complete disparity between those who have and those who do not have? What do we do about income inequality? What do we do about bodily autonomy when some people are treated as second-class citizens or worse? Wicked problems indeed. And as you heard, they are unstructured, they are cross-cutting, and they are relentless. They're unstructured because it's difficult to model all of the aspects to get to one agreed solution. We can't even agree on what the actual problems themselves are. How are we possibly ever going to agree on a solution? They are overlapping and they are interconnected. When you do this, the problem itself reacts. So every choice that you make has an impact, and we don't have enough time to play around to find the perfect solutions. Think about climate change. The clock is running out. We have to take big action, but any action we take will change the very problem itself. A wicked problem indeed. And as we heard at the end of that reading, one of the biggest challenges of all is these are not issues we can solve once and for all. They're not issues that will be done and finished forever, even when we think that they are. Because in the political landscape, sometimes we think we've won that battle, we've crossed that bridge, but if recent history has taught us anything, it is that there is nothing that is gained and forever gained. We must continue to work to keep it. Amen? Robert Horn, an American political scientist, uses another term. He doesn't use the term wicked problem, but he uses the term social mess. He defines a social mess as a set of interrelated problems and other messes. Complexity, systems of systems, is among the factors that make social messes so resistant to analysis and, more importantly, resistant to resolution. Among his list of the defining characteristics of social messes, tell me if any of these sound familiar to the issues we face. There's no unique, correct view of the problem itself. Different views of the problem suggest contradictory solutions. Most problems are connected to other problems. It's like a thread. You pull one and suddenly the whole thing unravels. The data is uncertain or sometimes completely missing. There are multiple value conflicts. That's a big one. We're going to come back to that one. The importance of understanding our values when it comes to these changes. And there are real, tangible constraints. There are ideological constraints, there are cultural constraints, there are political constraints, and there are economic constraints. There may be numerous possible intervention points, and knowing which one to choose can be a challenge. And the consequences can be difficult to imagine. We can do hard things? Really? Can we really do something about wicked problems? Can we really do something about the challenges that face us? Something inside me says, yes, yes, we can. Dr. Kate Isaacs is an experienced researcher and facilitator, and her specialty area is to study responses to complex problem solving and things like wicked problems. She has come up with not a complete blueprint, because there is no blueprint that's going to guarantee that you have a means of getting through every wicked problem. But she provides some suggestions, some general principles that we should apply when it comes to wicked problem mindsets. I want to share these with you, but I want you to hear them in a particular way. Not only in terms of how these can address the wicked problems we face in these various areas, but I want you to listen with your UU ears. Because I think that what you will find is this list also matches up really nicely with who we are as a people. It suggests to me that Unitarian Universalism may be well equipped, if we lean into who we really are, to tackle the challenges of the wicked problems we face. Here are her suggestions. The first is, when you're dealing with wicked problems, you need to bring the whole system to the table. In other words, there are multiple stakeholders. And the only way a wicked problem is going to be solved is if everyone who has a stake in the outcome is at the table, and at the table in an authentic way. There are models out there that suggest that there are authoritative ways of dealing with this. If we just elect the right people and give them the power, it's then their job to fix it. And that has not worked, and it will never work. There are other models, especially a model that's prevalent in the capitalist system in which we're living now, which suggests that everything is about creating this sort of competition. That if there's enough competition, if we put different ideas out there and they have to vie against each other, that there'll be a survival of the fittest and the best idea is going to win out. And that doesn't work either. Disruption does not lead to openness and solutions. It leads to information hiding and competition. We have to bring the whole system to the table. That means in every conversation we're a part of, when it comes to social justice and wicked problems, we have to ask ourselves, who is at this table and who isn't? And if they're not at the table, why aren't they at the table? And what can we do to bring them to the table? I believe this is something we've been working on as Unitarian Universalists. Imperfectly, but it's something we've been focused on in the last few years, asking the question, who's at the table, who's not at the table, and what can we personally do to make a difference there? Second thing, your job is not to devise the perfect solution. Your job is to build and sustain trust around the table. See, this is where we can get into our own way. We think, oh, surely we can come up with a perfect solution. We'll just put it out there. If people would just do what I tell them to do, it's all good. If that was the solution, we would have already gotten there. It's not about the smartest people providing the best solutions. It's about building trust at the table. You ask the first question, who's at the table, who isn't, how do we get them there? And once they're there, you have to build real trust. You have to make a coalition. You have to know that the person you're talking to across the table has your back and that you've got theirs. And building trust is not something that happens automatically. It takes time, it takes energy. The next job is ensuring that there are short-term wins along the way to long-term solutions. Doing the work that I do in the legislative front, I know this reality all too well. Sometimes I hear people say, we're not going to do that because that's not everything that we wanted. Well, if I only back the things that were 100% of what I wanted, I wouldn't be backing much of anything. Legislation has historically been about compromise. And it's not that saying yes to the thing now that isn't everything we want is the end of the story. But if we don't say yes to incremental wins along the way, we will never get to the long-term solution. Now, there's a danger here and one we have to be aware of, because some people will use that principle to avoid ever doing the really hard work. They will give you the incremental win as long as they don't have to give you your ultimate goal. We cannot fall into that trap, but we have to find the balance. Incremental wins along the way. Incremental wins along the way. The next thing to keep in mind is it is an ongoing adaptive learning process. This is back to the idea of it's not a figure it out and solve it once and for all. We are learning as we go. Fifth item, tricky one. Be aware of your power and share it responsibly. I think this is tough for Unitarian Universalists because I think in most conversations we don't like to admit that we actually have any power. Because if we admit that we have power, there is an implied follow-up to that which says, what do we do with the power that we've got? You see, sharing of power is part of the problem that has gotten us here to start with. So many of the wicked problems we face involve people having to negotiate the power that they have. We need to be aware of our power, and we need to learn how to use our power and our privilege to make a difference at the table. And finally, she says, you must manage your relationships at home in tandem with those of your problem-solving community. Now, she's not talking about literally at our homes. What she's saying is that when we are in wide coalition, when we're seated at that big table addressing the big problems, we have to make sure that when we are negotiating with the people at that table, we are remaining in connection with our own constituency. Because too often when wicked problems come along, what happens is the person who's been appointed to negotiate the situation starts to make process, but in the process, they've disconnected from the people who got them there, and suddenly the solution that is proposed is no longer acceptable to those who sent them there to begin with. This is important for our social justice work. It means we have to constantly be part of a two-way communication, checking back in with each other, making sure we're still all on the same page. And I think this is where our values come into play. Part of the issue with the challenges that we face is there are multiple conflicting values. You have to know your values. You have to know your values. This is something that I think we are at this moment very well poised for, because as Unitarian Universalists, the Article 2 work we've done over the last few years has been about being very specific about what our values actually are. I am excited for our faith because I hear people being able to say, this is what I really, really think is most important. You've heard those values, and they are important ones for us, and they are important ones for Unitarian Universalism in this moment, in this work of social justice, in this work of tackling wicked problems. Let's put these values at the table: justice, equity, transformation, pluralism, generosity, and interdependence. Those are the values that can guide us on our way. Those are the values that can help us when we tackle these wicked problems. And most importantly of all, the thing we're saying a lot, love at the center. I got an email this week from someone who saw our Thanksgiving message that went out. A UU who was like, okay, I appreciate the warm, fuzzy feeling of love at the center, but aren't we in a terrible situation right now? Don't we need to get past love at the center? Don't we need to start talking about some harder truths? Don't we need a stronger message? And my answer is no. My answer is the very, very message we need at this moment, at this time, is love in the center of everything. But it's not a wishy-washy love. It's not a bumper sticker love. It's not a slogan love at the center of the... It's a real love. It's a real love that says, I see you, I am with you, and my love calls me to do hard things. A love that surrounds us, that holds us, that will not let us go and will not let us down. That is what we need. That is what we must find. That is what we are called to do in this moment. Because we can do hard things. We can do hard things. Say it with me. Let's put the emphasis on the we. We can do hard things. Let's say it again. This time, let's put the emphasis on the can. We can do hard things. One last time, and this time, let's put the emphasis on the doing hard things. We can do hard things. May that indeed be so, my friends. May that indeed be so. Amen.
Thank you so much. That was very inspiring. Thank you. Let us extinguish our chalice, and please say the words together with me. Please. vows, but not our promise to each other, to act with grace, to hold each other in love, to serve this community and our world. This promise of the heart serves as a reminder of how we live together. May it bring joy to our collective lives. And let's sing together hymn number 1028. This is one I know we all like, Fire of Commitment. From the light of days remembered, it's awake and bright and clear, guiding hands and hearts and spirit into faith and freedom fear. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion need to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. From the stories of our living rings a song both brave and free, calling pilgrims still to witness to the life of liberty. When the fire of commitment sets our minds and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion need to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. From the dreams of youthful vision comes a new prophetic voice, which demands a deeper justice filled by our courageous choice. When the fire of commitment sets our minds and souls ablaze, when our hunger and our passion need to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin.
Again, thank you for being here this morning. I have these final words of benediction. This is from a poem called Because by Rosemary Watola Tromer. So, I can't save the world. I can't save even myself. I can't wrap my arms around every frightened child. I can't foster peace among nations. I can't bring love to all who feel unlovable. So I practice opening my heart right here in this room and being gentle with my insufficiency. I practice walking down the street heart first, and if it is insufficient to share love, well, I will practice loving anyway. I want to converse about truth, about trust. I want to invite compassion into every interaction. One willing heart can't stop a war. One willing heart can't feed all the hungry. And sometimes, daunted by a task too big, I tell myself, what's the use of trying? But today, the invitation is clear. To be ridiculously courageous in love. to open the heart like a lilac in May, knowing freeze is possible and opening anyway, to take love seriously, to give love wildly, to race up to the world as if I were a puppy, adoring and unjaded, stumbling on my own exuberance, to feel the shock of indifference, of anger, of cruelty, of fear, and to stay open. To love as if it matters, as if the world depends on it. Because, my friends, it does. Go in peace.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Reverend Charles. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Phil in the back. Thank you, Randy. Thank you, Joan. I think Elizabeth is making coffee for us. I'm sure I've missed someone. And Sally Cummings, thank you so much for these beautiful flowers. So let's have coffee and conversation.
Here, here.